main purpose of this visit was to engage with all the members of the government in the specific areas and to check also the follow-up on the agreements we have made just before the end of the year. I think a very important moment in which the government of St. Maarten acknowledges the essential need for cooperation within the kingdom, and also accepting the offer we did in the July proposal in the Council of Ministers, in the Rijksministerraad. What you see is, and I was here for 15 months ago for the last time, and due to COVID and all kinds of things in the Netherlands, we were not able to come to St. Maarten earlier. But you see progress, and that's a little bit strange maybe when you look at the situation we are all in together because of the COVID pandemic. But I see progress. Every time I come in St. Maarten, and the first time I came was just after the hurricane, I see progress. I see it on the streets, I see it in the economy, I see it with the people. Nevertheless, the situation is worse at the moment. St. Maarten is not able anymore to fulfill all its financial needs and ask for assistance also from the government of the Netherlands with liquidity support to be able to pay all the bills that have to be paid for executing all the government functions. What we have seen in the last 3 quarters of a year is that nobody can solve these problems alone, and that is essential that we just in this period try to fix the roof, to repair all these things that have to be proven to be weak. Because we all have the same aim within the kingdom, together as 4 countries, try to help each other to become stronger. And it's not for nothing the saying here in St. Maarten strong. And that's something I really stand for, but you cannot do this alone. And in the last weeks, after a period of negotiations, we have reached an agreement, and that agreement is, to my opinion, and also to the opinion of the Prime Minister and the ministers I spoke today, the basis for a continuous cooperation in the next years. The problems are so big and have appeared to be so imminent that there are no quick fixes anymore. There have to be done reforms in the government, in the public sector, but also investments in those areas where St. Maarten, after this COVID pandemic, appeared to have weaknesses. And we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of experience, we can work together, and we are now setting up the COHO as part of that consensus Rijkswet in which the 4 countries agreed upon to go on in a process that is now at the moment with the Raad van State van het Koninkrijk. The program of today was not only talking with governmental officials and with the governor, where I started my visit this morning, but also to see how the progress of the reconstruction after St. Maarten is going on. And what I saw this afternoon when visiting the Red Cross is that they not only take a very big share in distributing all the food packages and the emergency aid to the people, but still are working on reconstruction of the roofs, something that is very essential for St. Maarten. I also had a very fruitful meeting with the NRPB. We discussed several topics, but the main issues were how restoring and recovering the situation on the dump, because also last week appeared to be that it's still an imminent threat, not only on the people living in the neighborhoods, but also for all the people of St. Maarten when the dump is firing again, is at fire again. So that is very important to work on. It's a complex situation. We have to do it together, the World Bank, the Netherlands government, and the St. Maarten government, and I see very committed people that really want to make progress in their country. And what always is good to see that when you talk with entrepreneurs, young people that see chances in economy, even when the situation is worse like today, and they start up new enterprises. But they need sometimes help, and that project provided by the trust fund, by the Dutch government, gives them the opportunity to start a new company and to create jobs. And that's the most essential thing we have to do now, creating jobs and therefore giving income to a lot of people that now suffer from the crisis.
All these pancards, let him campaign with that in the Netherlands, because this is how he is treating the people here. Let him campaign with that. This is what we have prepared for him. We wanted to give it to him. He came for his show. We are not here for a show. We come for a serious business. The people is hurting, and what he is doing, trying to say that what he is doing is for the people, that is a big lie. And we are exposing the lie, and we hope that this becomes also international news.
And sneak in and sneak out without having the courtesy of having an audience with the people, representative, which is the labor unions, the consumer coalition. We were here to give him a gift, campaign gift, as was just mentioned. We have, for example, we would like him to take his neck, take his knee off our necks. The workers in St. Martin, we are together, we are united. And while our government is submitting to a violation of workers' rights and human rights and international laws and conventions which the Dutch government signed off to, it is very shameful that even the top level administrator of the Kingdom government come to St. Martin and sneak into a meeting and sneak out without even having the courtesy of seeing the workers' organization, the youth trade unions. Is very shameful. And we're going to report this to the ILO and to our international affiliates of what the Kingdom government is doing, and the Secretary of Kingdom Affairs came to St. Martin and hide away from seeing the people representative besides the government. Even the Prime Minister gave the impression that though she wasn't fully aware of his schedule. We got a call a while ago that he had a meeting with the Red Cross. So even the Red Cross, which is the Dutch Red Cross, which is in St. Martin, knew of his schedule, and he finally time to speak to them. But with the trade unions, he refused to talk to us.
So in essence, the unions wanted to have an audience with the state secretary. Did the unions contact the Dutch representation to let them know that you would like an audience with him while he was here?
From our experience in the past, we were notified and were invited to have discussion. I have photographs of Dutch delegation coming to St. Martin where we had that kind of dialogue between trade unions and even employers' organizations. The last time Her Majesty was here at Dibby Little Bay, we even had a shake hand, which is not normal. So when you have Mr. Knaps come to St. Martin and ignore the rights of the citizens of the territory, then it's very embarrassing and show that they have no respect for workers' rights or human rights.
So the unions did not let the Dutch representation know that you wanted to speak to him? That was the question.
We didn't know that he was coming, and when he was coming, his schedule, and even listening to the press conference of the government, the Prime Minister gave the indication that it was short notice that they understood that he would have been here, and based on his schedule, look where we are now, at Maho.
Yes, good afternoon, Judy Fitzpatrick from the Daily Herald newspaper. Two things, Mr. Knox. I'm not sure whether you noticed on your way in that there's a group of unions and workers who are outside the casino protesting at this present moment. They wanted to have an audience with you on their concerns. Did you have a chance to speak to them or see them or anything of the sort?
No, not seen.
And we, if I can say, we also received no request for that through my office, and we've been dealing with the trip, so I've received no request as such for that.
was somewhat embarrassing during the opening session of the IPCO meetings that St. Martin, or the representative of St. Martin, was not able to articulate a position on the decolonization trajectory, as a majority of Parliament has decided to undertake. Although it was embarrassing, it was not surprising, because this articulation, this outlining and defending of a stance on decolonization has not been forthcoming on St. Martin either, and surely not in the Parliament of St. Martin. Just last week, I requested a meeting of the Committee for Constitutional Affairs and Decolonization of the Parliament, and I asked questions to those responsible for executing the decisions of Parliament. Who are responsible? The members of the Presidium. So the presidents and vice presidents of Parliament are responsible to execute the decisions of Parliament. So I am quite curious, and these are my questions to the Presidium of Parliament. What kind of agreements have been established on the basis of the motion regarding decolonization that was passed by a majority in Parliament on the 5th of November of last year? Because we find ourselves in a somewhat awkward position on this matter in any case. Why? Because we know for a fact that the government of St. Martin was, they say, pressured into distancing itself from certain aspects of this whole decolonization, and in particular the issue of the decolonization vis-a-vis the Charter. On the other hand, you have a still existing motion of Parliament that not only recognizes but endorses this matter, endorses the matter of the Kingdom Charter being a devoid document, if I can call it that. And then you have the government that distance itself from a foundation that has been, or whose actions, whose legal actions have been endorsed by the Parliament of St. Martin. In addition to that, you have, as I mentioned, this committee that was established, and I listened in bewilderment as the representative of St. Martin tried to explain the purpose of this commission, and no wonder you had members of other delegations that continued to stress the point, because St. Martin could not deliver an articulate position on where it stands, or where we stand on this matter. In addition to that, the government is going to have to look closely at a letter that came from the Prime Minister sometime late last year, I believe it was, and in which the government endorsed in a lengthy letter to Parliament the process of decolonization. In fact, that letter, to which I have referred in the past, concludes with stating, and this would then be a quote attributed to the Prime Minister in her letter, and then the Prime Minister states, and I quote, "I am of the opinion that finalizing the decolonization can and should be started as soon as possible. It will both benefit the international reputation of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and therefore St. Martin and its sister islands, and allow for the sustainable social economic development and prosperity of the people of St. Martin. With this end of quote, with this kind of a statement, one would think that a prime minister would want to see this whole decolonization and what the government thinks about it and a majority of parliament thinks about decolonization. You would want to see that as an important part of the same agreement signed with the Dutch government in which we talk about sustainable social economic development. So again, it behooves the government to not only retract or distance itself from statements regarding decolonization / the Charter of the Kingdom, but take a clear position on the matter, given what we have in Parliament coming from the government. Where is the government's program in this context? How does the government program align with the agreement signed by the Prime Minister with the Dutch State Secretary that includes the so-called country package, a package of measures and reforms that goes into all areas, the area of care, education, finances, the economy, you name it. So 2 things right now where we stand, and these have become even more urgent, again, if I look at what transpired during the opening session of IPCO on Wednesday. That is 1, the Parliament needs to, whether in the Constitutional and Decolonization Committee, get together and see how its position aligns with its government. This is not a matter for the independence of Parliament vis-a-vis the government. No, this is the coalition government supported by a majority in Parliament that needs to make it clear to the people of St. Martin where they stand on this matter. Because if we sit back again and feel that we have acted smartly by distancing ourselves from certain matters because it was made as a condition by the Dutch government, and feel that below the horizon or below the radar rather, we are going to continue to do what some of us think we should do, we are going to meet up ourselves again down the road.
Yeah. Starting a new enterprise, you go to a bank and you get a loan.
No, this locally it's a little difficult sometimes. It's a little difficult sometimes going directly to the bank, because sometimes you go to the bank, they ask you to have assets. They want you to have assets. Sometimes they want you to give my mom on the plate to them to get a little of that. That's why they're sitting there. Actually, the local banks basically ask this. They basically ask you to bring me your mama, her house, and the rest of your kids, so I can give you a little startup. You know, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult for local entrepreneurs, or local anyone who wants to start something small to go to the bank. It's almost impossible. You understand? Almost impossible, and it takes a lot. And the credits, they open a door. They open a door, and I think we kick the door down and run through. They open a door, and we take a step through. You know, we take a step through. Actually, for the pandemic, it really helped our business also a lot, because it's sad to say that the bad things are good for some, but the pandemic really restricted a lot of persons to doing certain things. And a lot of my island boats too, they bring ginger. You know this stuff? You know this stuff? Ginger, turmeric. Yeah. You sure? So they bring ginger, turmeric, and the local stuff, not the island stuff, with our natural vaccine. They have a lot of natural vaccines, and when the pandemic started, a lot of persons started to reach back to these vaccines. Reach back to the ginger, reach back to the turmeric, and these boats always used to bring it, but they brought it more, and this opened more doors for us and make more business and keep us afloat during this time.
Explain what you're going to use the financing for?
Oh, the finance for us now is we're going to be buying a forklift. Forklift.
Forklift. Yeah.
We're going to get a new brand forklift, because we're a very small company and it's back-breaking work to you can see lift some of these pallets. So to load it on the trucks, we have to rent a forklift every week, every day. Even today, as you go, I'm going to go down the road again, take it again, pay him tomorrow. So we rent a forklift every day we need it. And also for trucking, I have a gentleman. He has on a shirt from my company today, but normally he's not an employee of my company. But I call a truck depending on what cargo and where the cargo has to go. So every time I have to call an extra truck to deliver or pick up my cargo, to take it to the port or to take it to the sprint side, or to go by someone's home and pick it up and bring it to me. So I always outsource those supplies. And it's very costly. Very, very costly to outsource the supplies. And even outsourcing, we did very well, even though we have to outsource. But if we own these supplies, it makes our business more profitable, and I have more control. I can instigate more. I can do more to help. I can, it's better for the business.
Something we were briefed 1 hour ago about this project and how it works. And one of the elements of the project is to train people and to warn them for risks when you start an enterprise and you get loans and all that kind of thing. But when I hear your story, you thought about all of them already. Risk and so
you see, but we did, because I have a lawyer behind me standing. So
if something goes wrong, she can
yeah. I have a lawyer behind me standing, so it gives me an extra push. We push each other because you have to have the field and the office together, so we push each other, and we made it happen. But for the average person, it might be a little difficult. It might be a little difficult. I think the credits does a wonderful job. I think NRP does also a wonderful job. But I also think we need one more force in between, maybe local, that knows the floor, that can help the people to deal with NRP, help them to deal with credit, that knows the business. And for example, there are persons who make stuff like sorrel. You know what sorrel is?
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
In the remuneration are further impoverishment by decree. In reviewing 2020, the more than 13,000 households, 94% of the households in St. Martin, were confronted with much more poverty. The coronavirus was blamed for workers losing their jobs, for workers having to take salary cuts, for workers having to work and consequently receiving less pay to take care of their families, and for workers having to look for social allowances or an unemployment benefit of 1,150 guilders a month. judges confirmed that employers who have imposed unilateral cuts in salaries were wrong. Employers who have been making money for so many years, paying the workers poverty wages, which were not enough to provide their household with a combined household income of at least 500 guilders a month, for them not to be in poverty. A lot of them use the coronavirus pandemic to unlawfully dismiss or cut the workers' salary. Workers who have guaranteed them their profit for years could count now on business interruption insurance pay or pay out on the company reserves. The myth that the workers in this part of the kingdom and their household live in poverty, this myth has to be exposed as a lie. The reality is that workers and their families in this part of the kingdom always needed to struggle to survive and to make ends meet. The reality is that workers, not to be in poverty, had to work 2 or 3 jobs to face the high cost of living here in St. Martin, the highest in the kingdom of the Netherlands, by the way. In 2020, not only employers, but also our own politicians, as well as the Dutch politicians, used the coronavirus as an excuse to impose so-called solidarity cuts on the workers in Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin in exchange for liquidity support. What did the Dutch government do? They imposed, based on proposals of State Secretary Mr. Raymond Knox, financial and non-financial antisocial conditions on the workers and their families in St. Martin, violated workers' rights and human rights ratified by the kingdom to be implemented equally throughout the state territory. The St. Martin Support and Relief Plan, the SSRP, for instance, was curtailed by the Dutch government. First, our own government came with a payroll support program for business of maximum 80%, whereas in the Netherlands and in the Best Islands, the now business support program is for a maximum of 90%. The 80% maximum payroll support was later imposed by the Dutch government, brought to a maximum of 60% payroll support, forcing the workers to take a 20% salary cut. Then our own government came